Good evening and welcome to the Alumni Field Renovation and Design Committee meeting for July 21st, 2016. We call to order at 7:04, and here's the agenda. We review the agenda, and we'll have some public input. We were unable to schedule any interviews with the owner's project manager, so that will not happen, but we will have some discussion around the owner's project manager this evening. Same with design firm. We'll prepare for the interviews for the design firms, which likely will be scheduled for the following week, not next week, the week after. We then will go into stakeholder presentations. Tonight we've got the Littleton Athletic Boosters Association, and we've got youth soccer. After that, we'll do approval of minutes from our meeting a couple weeks ago. Then we'll open it up again to the public for public input. We'll schedule our next meetings and the agendas for the next meetings, and look at potential presenters and any discussion that you guys have as far as any open items. And then we'll adjourn. So, any public input? All right. We will move on to, actually, we've got OPM, right?
Yep.
So
let's
get into that.
The OPM design screening committee met last night. That was made up of me, Chuck, Sheila, and Julie from this committee. Carl straddling two committees, this committee and the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, along with Steve Moore and Bob Romley, also from the PMBC. We organized. I'm the chair. Are you the vice chair?
No, Steve.
Steve Moore is the vice chair.
No, I'm the
Carl's the vice chair. Steve Moore is the
secretary. Sorry.
Thank you. We evaluated the OPM. We're going through the process of getting the reference checks on the OPMs. We have 3 OPMs that applied or responded to the RFQ. We said in the RFQ that we would take 3 people to the best 3 to interview. So there's only 3, so we're going to interview all of them. We started talking about the references checks. 2 of them are done. Well, one's all done, one is mostly done, and one we have to do, but that'll be done before next week. We're going to meet next Tuesday, July 26th, to interview each of the 3 at 6, 7, and 8 p.m. That will happen at room 103 at Town Hall. At the end of that meeting, we will deliberate and we will make a recommendation to the PMBC of who we think the best candidate is to represent us as the OPM. The PMBC is going to have a special meeting on Wednesday night to make their choice, and then they will enter into negotiation over price and working conditions and things like that. Hopefully, we will have an OPM on board by the end of next week. The OPM will then assist us in the same process, and we will go through the same process for choosing the design firm. We have more than 3. I think we have 5, right?
Correct.
5. The screening committee will evaluate those. We'll get them down to 3, probably, hopefully, and then we will schedule interviews with those 3. Our goal is to have those interviews for the designer on the week of April 7th.
August.
August 7th.
Why such a delay?
Yep, so next week we'll pick the OPM and hopefully get them to sign the contract. The week of August 1st, we'll come up with a schedule and we'll go through and try to filter out to the top 3, if we can do that. And then we'll schedule interviews for the week of August 7th. So that's where we are with that process. It's well underway. We've got a framework to go off of. We just have to go ahead and execute. It'll take a couple of weeks before we actually get the designer hired. Yeah. All right, any questions on that?
Any comments, Julie or Sheila, based on being part of the process?
No.
No?
Do
All
you
right.
need to say who the OPM,
Candidates are?
yeah, is that relevant?
We talked about it, didn't we? Did we talk about it when we picked up the packages last?
I think we did
Yeah.
read them off, right?
Yeah. Anyway, it's an open meeting next Tuesday, so people will know.
Yeah. All right. And you guys have any questions about where we're at with it? There's only a couple of you, so, no? All right. All right, we're going to move right along to stakeholder presentations. First up is LABA, or Littleton Athletic Boosters Association. And
I'm sort of disappointed.
Denise
I mean-
Moniz, I know, right? We call this Kirkwood, and Denise Moniz is the president of LABA. And
Denise Moniz is the president. I am the chairman of the board.
Kim's the treasurer.
Kim is the treasurer. Do we have any other officers?
Gary?
Gary. What are you, Gary?
Boosters.
Boosters. Booster member. No. Do we name all the booster members at the moment?
If you want to, you can.
Cindy
You don't have to.
Napoli, Carl Osterman. I'm gonna forget somebody. John Court. There's so many of us.
Nancy Morrison.
Nancy Morrison. I don't know, they all just
Cindy.
are there. I said Cindy, right?
Millie by proxy. Millie by proxy.
Billy, yeah. Donna.
Donna.
Oh, Donna Cousins.
Positano, yeah. Oh. While we're mentioning the members, I would say 90% of the board, right, doesn't have kids in sports anymore.
Right.
We're all just old timers coming back because it's what we do.
We're at 99 and a half.
99 and a
I
half,
think,
that's
yeah.
right. You're
Because
almost
Jack
to
and
the
Mikey
other
don't
side.
count.
And Eric still counts.
Please.
So who are we, or what are we? We are a nonprofit organization formed solely to raise funds to help support the needs of our middle and high school athletic programs. Littleton has suffered with financial setbacks in the past few years, so we help Mike with the school budget. Within the school budget, we help him with supplementing from our funds. Okay. Next page. So how do the boosters raise money? Well, we do concessions and merchandise sales. These take place at Alumni Field through, if you've been there at all, through the two shacks. Gary is in the merchandise shack, and the snack shack is manned by volunteers. We usually are open on all athletic events, so it's not just the football games, it's the Powder Puff games, it's the soccer games, it's whatever games we have going on. We also have two solid fundraising. We have a bowling night and a billiards night. These take place in the fall and the spring. And then we also have a recycle clothing trailer, which is up at the high school. We accept clothing and shoes to be recycled there. So if this is going to be on TV, make sure when you're recycling your clothes, please put it in the trailer. And we also have advertisements sold at local businesses which appear on our seasonal programs that the kids get for every season they get a program. All right. So what do we do with the money raised? We provide supplemental funds needed to purchase new uniforms and at times equipment when needed. This is directed by Mike Lynn. He tells us what we need, what he needs, and then if we have funds in the general fund and the budget for it, we do supply him the money. We purchase all athletic pins, plaques, certificates, varsity letters, and banquet supplies for all sports banquets, for all 3 seasons, for all banquets, and then we have a big banquet for the seniors at the end. We provide an athletic scholarship for a male and female athlete. We create the seasonal sports programs for all the sports, and we maintain a mobile app which gives the public information, and we also hold in kind any funds raised by individual teams for their own use. Next slide. Okay. Uh-oh, wait a minute, will you go back one? Sorry, this is Kim's.
It's Kim's fault.
No.
Oh, you wanted to go to the expense report?
Oh, the expense report.
Okay.
All right. We're going to go to the expense report now. And then Kim can be gone. Thank you. All right. So you've got to explain the expense report.
Yeah, we don't have the whole thing up there.
How do I do it?
Try it.
Do like a print preview, pretend you're gonna print it. It's hard to see.
Well,
Let's go over it, we can review it
I can
later.
still, yeah, go back, make that.
Smaller? All right,
You hit it, yeah.
okay.
It's close anyways.
Please move them. I don't know why it showed up bigger on my.
Judith, is it better if we turn the lights off for you?
You just have to move
See
it
if
like
it-
that.
Yeah. So it's kind of broken up into 3 different tiers of information. So the first, yeah, actually, why don't you spin those? Leave me one though, Mike.
Yeah.
Just in case. So the first tier of information that you're looking at right now, and I've basically done it over 3 years so that we can look at our years run similar to the town. So we're 7/1 to 6/30, just so that that's out there. So programs that we run each year for the fundraising, the purpose of the fundraising for the athletes is, I mean, Sheila kind of already explained these. The ad book, billiards night. There's some other types of fundraising. So on the years that we do the bowling, or we have electronics recycling, sometimes different events that we fit in there. The concession income is absolutely our strongest moneymaker. We have some contributions that are simply straight out that. The trailer is kind of interesting. If I can get it to go through the years. So 3 years ago, it was $1,100. The next year, $400. That's when it moved. And actually, the first 1,100 might have been even, I think it had moved once at that point, Sheila.
Yeah.
And then we're down to, well, 500 for the next year. Then 50/50 raffles, basket raffles, that would be our next source of income. And then the boosted item sales. It's something that's in very high demand. We make very little money at it. You know, we price stuff slightly above what we pay for it, but not something we'd ever stop doing because the demand is there and that's what people are really enjoying, but it's not a huge moneymaker for us. So you can see over the years, we're profitable $11,000, $12,000. And that was even a little bit better on that year there. So, ways that we spend it. That did all right. The biggest thing that we're going to do for the athletes is going to be the sports recognition nights, the banquets for every sport each year. I tried to break it down by the fall, the winter, the spring, and the senior banquet, just to get a feel for what's typically spent. And it's, so, you know, some years we'll have more banquet supplies at one point than the other. The fall always looks like it's the most costly. It's because we buy a lot of the stuff that lasts us through the whole seasons. The scholarships are $500 apiece to the male athlete and the female athlete. And those scholarships are, you could probably explain better than me, but basically it's a point system. It's not anyone's opinion as to who should get it. The athletes get points for each sport that they play, if they were captains, their grade point average.
Any recognition,
Right, if they make.
they had any
Within the league.
within the league,
Exactly,
and also
yeah.
Lowell Sung All-Star.
Right.
On
So it's
that.
strictly by points and whoever's on top. The next two are the uniforms, and this is what we do when we can. Mike will say to us, and we don't pick a team by any means. Mike will say to us, there's 4 teams that need uniforms this year. The school can probably cover 2, maybe 2.5. can you guys help me out? And we do whenever we can, and we just, whoever he, we have enough money for, or he can't possibly supply for, that's what we're gonna be helping him out with. All right, and then the last line is actually really boring. So this is the administrative expenses, and it's really, it's about the same every year. It's what it costs us. I think it's really low. It costs us $1,100, $1,200 a year to run the boosters, and you can see more than half of that is insurance. Other than that, we get some postage and some taxes that we pay. So I guess the moral of the story, I don't know if that's what we're here for, is that the concessions are hugely important to us.
You can X out of that.
All right.
I'll finish up.
Okay, why can't I get it down there? There we go.
That next one. Okay, so again, why do we need the boosters? Because our athletic program offers 21 different sports and manages a total of 42 teams, more than any other school our size in the district. There are presently 449 students in the Littleton High School. Of the 449 students, in the high school, 301 students play at least one sport. This equates to 67% participation rate. Less than 1% of the annual school budget goes to the athletic department. The budget of the athletic department cannot meet the cost of these programs, and the boosters help supplement some of that shortfall. Next, this is just an operational expense of the athletic director. Just an example. I did leave a lot of words up there just because I want you to see what that $650,000 all goes to. The coaching salaries, the AD stipend, transportation, officials, police detail, custodians, ticket managers, equipment and uniforms with initial purchase and end of the season reconditioning, ice rental, annual dues for MIAA and the commissions of the officials, entry fees for various events such as track meets. In addition, postseason championship games are an additional strain upon the overall athletic budget. Depending on the success of our teams, these additional costs can be substantial. It is noted, however, that special transportation costs for postseason games above the standard bus fees are provided by private donors.
I think just one thing, if I could just interrupt
Sure.
real quickly. On the gate receipts, most of our gate receipts come from Friday night football games.
Most of
And they're
the,
used across the entire budget for
They-
for all of what's in that paragraph down below.
right, that's part
It's
of,
not just used for football.
no, it's not. Those gate fees go back into the total athletic budget. Last slide. Okay, looking ahead, what are LABA looking ahead for? Well, we would like to continue to raise funds for the Snack Shack and a merchandising shack. We would like a little updated facility, maybe with running hot and cold water. And my personal one, a sink. That's all I want. Because it really does get old washing in those plastic buckets.
Are you one of those people, like, do you get the plumbing magazine and, like, look at the fixtures and just,
No, I just call my brother. Hey,
Anything
what are you gonna do?
The hose.
Garden hose seems to work. In a 5 gallon
And it's
can.
cold in November, that garden hose is cold.
Gary, do you want to put in a plug for the electric box to get fixed?
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah, I
electric,
would like to do it.
see, Gary, I should have put that on the slide, too.
You don't like the hum?
No, it's not bad at the beginning of the season, because usually, like, Bob will come down and clean the plugs every couple of years. But as the season goes on, it just gets louder and louder and louder.
What's wrong with it?
I'm not sure, I'm not an electrician, but
Oh,
it
it
just
like
makes this
hums
loud,
at you?
yeah, humming noise,
Oh.
the whole night.
Let's see.
And I'm in this 12 by 12 box.
I think that was
I
the
spend a lot of time
original.
with my head hanging out the window.
come talk to me. Come
Yeah,
talk to me.
exactly.
Let's get one of those gong show hooks.
Questions, comments?
How is the Snack Shack staffed? Like, I know you guys have volunteers, but as far as like, does one person run it and then like schedules certain people to come for certain games?
So the schedule is put together by me, and what we've been doing for the last couple of years is I'll go to the first fall meeting with the coaches, and we pick a date that their parents of that team will come in and work the shack. It doesn't always work that way, though, and a lot of the times it's members of the boosters that are in there, or you know, me making last-minute calls for someone to come in if I know people aren't showing up. What was the other part of that question? So that's how it's staffed. Nancy Morrison does all the shopping for the boosters. So she'll go to Costco and get everything that we need.
There's at least one person that's food safety trained.
There's
correct?
2 people food
Two people,
safety trained.
okay. And they're there all the time, right, when it's open?
Yes.
At least one of them's there when
Yep.
it's opened.
And everyone, you know, let's say soccer is in there that night, they're gonna get a little tutorial by that person
Yeah.
or persons.
Yeah.
So that everybody knows, you know, for your job that you're gonna do tonight, this is what you have to,
And there's always one of us in that shack with whoever's working it.
yeah.
Now, if you increase the amenities in that shack and you're able to serve other foods perhaps, and, you know, you can expand the operation, do you see staffing being a hurdle? And on top of that, if we were able to perhaps rent out the field during the summer, you know, it's something to think about is how we would staff during those months as well.
Well, if you're going to rent it out during the summer, that would have to take them some thinking.
Yeah,
Number
sure.
one.
That
Number
could be a
2.
potential good source of revenue that we don't see
Absolutely.
right now.
Yeah. By changing the food and offering different food and staffing, I'm not sure. Friday nights, people are hungry. I think they come anyway, and they know they're going to get either a burger, a hot dog, or pizza,
Yeah.
or whatever. Staffing is always going to be a problem, no matter what. And you could go back to the beginning in 1966, and staffing is always going to be a problem for volunteers. That's just the way life is. And it seems to be the same people coming in, so that you get used to it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think if we're trying to rent it out in the summer, for us to open it, it has to be a big crowd to make it worthwhile.
Right.
When we have night soccer games, well, I guess the one I can reference to, but, you know, we don't get a very big crowd, so there's not a lot of sales going on
Yeah.
those nights.
Yeah.
So it's almost to the point where we're having people come down, even though they're free labor, and they're really standing around not making a lot of sales. Was it worth it for us to be open?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the soccer night sales. Usually there's more at the soccer nights. Powder Puff, we make a lot of sales.
Yeah.
But soccer nights, it's a given. It depends on who you're
And
playing.
if it's cold, you sell hot chocolate, so I mean, the
Yep.
weather matters.
I think one thing we keep in mind,
And the
when we talk
football
about this,
games.
is we've deliberately, for various reasons, underscheduled this facility. Part of it is that the Crown is not conducive to playing a lot of soccer games or lacrosse games, so we don't do it. And then we wanted to keep, you know, the surface playable, you know, for what it's designed for, so we limited the use of it. I think, the one thing I think about is that if we refurbish the facility and we make it more available to other sports, then people are going to be conditioned like, oh, there's a soccer game tonight. It's not a one-off. It doesn't happen
Right.
once or
Yeah.
twice a year. Oh, I wasn't prepared to go. It's like, no, now we know as a community that, yeah, it's happening. So I think you're going to see some more turnout. I think the students will support it more if they know that, you know, X% of the games are there. That's why we do it. It's the idea to play at night is it's more fun for the families of the players and their friends because they can get there. And they can't always get there after school. It's not as conducive. And certainly, we don't have the infrastructure at the high school to support a, you know, something like this every afternoon after school. But if we bumped up the number of soccer games or lacrosse games that were getting played there at night, I think as a community, we'd find that, I mean, we're doing 45% of your overall budget
Right.
is raised by the concession stand. You know, I think there's an opportunity there that, you know, if I were going to make an effort to raise more money, I would say, let's do a better job at the concession stand, because that, we know we're good at that, and people respond to that. So I think there's an opportunity here. I don't know if you're going to double it, but you might be able to go, you know, another, you know, if you're doing $5,000 a year, you might go to $7,500 a year.
You know,
I agree
that
with
just brought
that.
something to mind, just top of my head. The marquee in front of the middle school. You know, I don't know what that costs, but if you used something like that to announce the games for the week, And the public driving by, going to Tiger's Den, the 2 schools, or a lot of people are still going by, getting to the high school.
And again,
That could really
we send
help.
emails out from the youth basketball saying, there's a Friday night home
Yep.
game for the girls, so the younger girls should go. But I don't think we typically do that for other events, because again, it's so sporadic, it's not really something we think about. But again, if you knew there was gonna be a Thursday night girls lacrosse game, you'd tell the girls lacrosse
Right.
league, hey, and those are the people that are gonna buy candy and,
Right,
all that
right.
kind of stuff, and that's
You know,
what
you
you're
think
trying
about
for.
what we're doing, we're putting the A-frame sign out at the end of the road
Yeah.
Football games.
for football games every
Yeah,
Friday night.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah, I think if we're able
do
to
a lot
program
more.
more, and then we follow through with the notification and marketing and such, I think we will find that you're gonna get a bigger crowd, more participatory, and it's gonna become more like a community event, that's where you get the payoff.
And
You
it's
know,
when
that's
it's
the
more
opportunity.
consistent. You're right, when it's more
And
consistent, people are like, oh
honestly-
yeah, we'll just eat there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then the Independent should have a schedule every
Yeah.
single week of what's happening at Alumni Field.
I think even on the short term, we could do more A-frames, where we put one at the high school, we put one in front of the police station, we put one at either end of Russell Street, the Common.
The Common.
So if we put them in some key locations, end of Shaker Lane, so we could do a better job of that. Even like we have it now, we probably should be doing a better job of that.
The other thing that we've talked about is that, it's one thing to talk about our own games, but if there's opportunities, maybe not for rentals, but MIAA playoff games where we become a host site, even if we're not participating, that is gravy train right there. I mean, that's big crowds, 2 pieces of the crowd coming from outside of Littleton, so
Right.
we're not dunning the same people for the money. That's another opportunity. You get 1 or 2 of those a year, that's another easy $4,000 or $5,000,
Right.
into the coffers.
Right.
We
Carl?
just don't have that opportunity right now.
No,
You
we
can
don't.
take receipts and concession sales from all events there? I mean, all school events?
Not gate receipts.
No, I get-
We don't do the gate receipts,
Yeah.
no,
The gate
that's
receipts
the
go right in the
school.
school.
No,
budget.
but I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, we
You're talking
keep
the
them.
MIAA events, or like, when we have a home game?
Well, my thought was, because we've had to forfeit home games.
Yeah.
Right.
Not only, disadvantage the team, but you're losing gate and concession sales when you do that.
Yeah. So if it's part of the tournament, we do get a piece of it, but most of the gate goes to the MIAA.
But all the concession sales would remain with us.
Yeah.
Right.
The MIA doesn't have their thumb in that yet.
Don't say that on camera.
It's just a double loss. when we
Yeah,
have-
oh, yeah.
They've almost maxed out the ticket prices, so they'll be coming after concessions soon, I'm sure.
Sure. Any more?
The other thing I would like to mention is that you said 1966?
I was teasing.
No, but it's something like that, right? I mean, LABA has been around.
Actually, probably 1968, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
On a
So
side note,
it has a track record, they've been there, there's continuity,
Yep.
you guys, have done a good job year in and year out. There's a framework in place where people expect to have it, but they also support it, and, you guys aren't new to the process, so, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Erica, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if there was a soccer or a lacrosse game like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, would the concession stand be available at that time?
No. Well, no, not at 4.
Not as it's
Soccer,
presently constituted.
in the fall, it's quite easy to do a soccer game, and we usually go around 5:30. We'll have pizza because it's the end of the JV game, beginning of the varsity game, so we do a lot there. But it's easy because it's open, it's ready for business. In the spring, it's not, so it would be very difficult to open the shack and get it ready for just that. And if you've ever gone to a lacrosse game, there's not many people other than parents there, and it's not a huge crowd.
The afternoon games.
Yeah,
In the
your
afternoon.
only
Yeah.
opportunity would come if it was a night game.
Right.
The afternoon games, you wouldn't get enough of a crowd, because you're only gonna get the parents, because the kids are
Right.
busy. Many of the other athletes are
Yeah,
out
the
doing
sports.
whatever they're doing that day, track meet, track practice, whatever.
I'm
But at
just
night,
wondering
it's
how
a,
many night games you're actually gonna get. I mean, that.
well, you wouldn't get
it
half the schedule, but
requires
you would get more than what you,
coordination with other towns.
you'd get more than what you have now. Coordination with other towns, you just set the schedule up.
Yeah.
Some teams have night games and some schools
Right.
don't.
That's
If
not
you have
as
the facilities
difficult.
for it,
Yeah.
they'll
And
do
that-
it.
Yeah, because we've played, in Tingsboro, for instance, we've played some
Right, you know, the lacrosse coach will get a call and it'll be, let's say it's the Groton coach, just for, you know, an example, and he'd say, you know, I want to do a night game. You
Right.
guys good with that? What can we, you know, change, what can we reschedule the game to? And they will, you know, they're happy to do it.
Yeah. Not every game is going to be a night game for soccer and lacrosse, but the reason we don't have more is not that it's not feasible to schedule it, it's because the facility is not conducive for it. If the facility were conducive for it, we would definitely consider and probably definitely follow through on doing more.
We would.
Yeah. You know, whether it's, now it's like 2, whether it went from 2 to 6, that's feasible. It probably wouldn't go from 2 to half of the season.
Correct.
You know, and midweek night games are of dubious value, but closer to the end of the week, Thursdays and Fridays, you know, and then, I don't know, maybe, you know, again, there's one Saturday night you do a boy-girl doubleheader, you know, when you schedule it, because then you know that people want to do it.
Right.
So that, we'd have to, you know, reorient how we do things and think about it, but.
And in the past, we've never done Saturdays, although on the girls, I'm the varsity girls coach, and I looked at the schedule, and we do, the boys and varsity boys and girls are going to a Saturday game. I believe it's in Maynard.
Yeah.
So I think it starts at 5.
Yeah. When we do several varsity games for the boys and girls basketball teams, it's great.
Yeah.
Huge crowds.
Yeah.
Mike loves them. He gets a bigger gate, and it's a big opportunity. So again, those are the kinds of things we would think about doing. Is we don't do varsity soccer very often, but maybe that's something we would get ourselves geared towards. Do 3 or 4 varsity nights.
Yeah.
And the other schools would probably be like, that's a good idea. We would love to do that. You know, so there's opportunities. It would be exciting to be able to evaluate, and now we just not even going to bother right now where the facility is. So it's definitely one of the, you know, the hopes for doing this.
Are there, do there tend to be like long lines at the concessions, or like, would it, I mean, it sounds like expanded facilities would obviously make things a lot easier. And so I'm wondering if you've had feedback like, oh, I just had to wait too long in line, or the pizza's getting cold, or anything like that. You know, where it would
yes.
be like a real value added.
It's nutty, like, even
Yeah.
when, like, let's say we're not working the Shack, if any of us are around, we'll go in for halftime, because it's
Because it
it's
always
crazy.
gets backed up.
crazy
Right.
at
And all the windows
I
typically
assumed
open at
that was
halftime.
the
Yeah.
case.
And right now, we have a pizza
Okay.
warmer that you keep the pizza in,
Sure.
but most of the times, people are getting,
The real line's at
Pretty
the
warm pizza.
ticket booth. If
Yeah.
you come at the right time, you're going to
Yeah.
be waiting in line
People
for like
backing
15,
out
20
the
minutes.
driveway.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like expanding the concessions would provide an opportunity for perhaps the people who leave the line or who don't come back. Or,
Right.
Potentially, yeah.
Or to potentially serve more, you know, as it evolves or something like that.
Expanded
Like-
wine list.
That's where all the money is.
Well, where are we at with the liquor licenses and things?
School
We gotta annex
You
that.
want that? Just a thank you.
Oh, good.
All right, any other questions for Laba? Committee members, no? No. Thank you both very much. Sheila, thank you for doing double duty. Appreciate that. Kim, thank you for coming out. Good luck
Oh,
with
no
the grandchildren.
problem. I gotta go, yeah.
Um,
Inside Out's starting soon, right?
They're not
Oh,
going.
yeah.
Mikey got punished.
How cute is
I'm off
that?
duty.
So don't rush.
Can go out
You
till
announce it.
10.
Nice.
Just told the whole town your kid got punished.
Make Tom, yeah.
Public shaming.
Shows you're a good
Don't
parent.
say why,
Good for you.
whatever you do, okay?
I'm begging.
We'll leave it there.
That's funny.
He's too cute to punish.
I know, right?
That is not how that works.
The problem is he knows it.
Enjoy.
That is not how that works.
Kim, thank you very much. Make Tom take you out to dinner now.
Good work, because sometimes it does.
Your schedule just opened up.
Well, if you're the grandparent, it works that way.
All right.
Parent, that is not-
Next up, Mr. Gary Austin. It's up to you, wherever you're most
Yeah,
comfortable.
no, the microphone's good for the TV.
Not loud enough.
Thank you.
No, well, I can bring the microphone to him if he's more
Yeah, that's
comfortable. That's fine.
For those that don't know, which I believe everybody does, my name's Gary Austin, and I'm the president of Littleton Youth Soccer.
And a member of LABA.
And what?
And a member of
And a
LABA.
member of LABA. Youth soccer averages in the fall around 450 kids per season, and in the spring, roughly 500 kids per season. This past spring, we had 524. Our numbers are starting to go up small, but they're going up. From the last three springs, we had 485 and 444 in the spring of 13, 485 in the spring of 14, and spring of 15, 514, and this year 524. Now that's active players. Those are not kids that signed up too late and there was no teams for them to play on. Had they signed up on time, we probably would have added another couple dozen kids to this list.
Yep, my son was one.
What's that?
I tried to sign up late.
Sign-ups are on right now.
Yes, I know. I'll make it next time.
And so it's split between our in-town program, which we start at 4 years of age for our peewees. This past spring, we had 10 teams of peewees. I think the teams were rather large this year. There were 8 or 9 per team, when normally we try to keep it around 4 to 6 per team. Again, a lot of late sign-ups, couldn't find coaches, so you had to make bigger teams. U6, we had 8 teams. The U8s, we had 10 teams. For our travel program for boys and girls, U10 all the way up through boys and girls U18, we had a total of 21 teams. For the most part, all but 2 teams play at Corpor on Saturdays, either home or, that's their home field for their 4 home games. So that Corpor was designed as one large field, and then as consolidation went down because more sports arrived, we had to reline it, and now it covers 4 age groups, 3 sets of lines.
And that's for your U10 to U18 travel teams are playing there.
Correct.
Right. And the Pee-wees and U6 and U8 don't play there, they play on.
They all play over at Russell Street on Saturdays. And we use the track, Whitcomb, St. Anne's, and Corpor 5 days a week for practice during the fall and spring.
How many practices a week do the teams get?
It differs. All the travel teams are offered 2 nights a week.
Okay.
The U8s are only offered 1 night a week.
Yeah.
The U6s, we used to have them each have 1 night a week. We've condensed them down to all participating on 2 nights, either a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Again, yep, we have like 30 kids each night. We've hired outside soccer people, club, to come in and instruct the coaches, because they're usually new coaches. Still a lot of people that are coaching haven't played soccer in their lives, so we're trying to help them develop into better coaches and the players develop into better players by this instructional on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
So do some of the kids go both nights, or are they supposed to go?
Nope, yeah.
So 1 night a week effectively.
Correct.
For those guys.
Yep, we just try to split it down the middle as best we can.
And the Pee-wee teams don't practice during the week?
Pee-wees only play on Saturday mornings. And the same crew, the same outside group that we have coming down on Saturday mornings to do a walkthrough with the coaches there to explain to them. They have a program that the Pee-wees will do half hour of skills, and then they'll play a half hour game in the fall, and then in the spring they do more games than drills.
And when the travel teams are practicing, they practice on Corpor?
They get 1 night a week at Corpor. U10s don't get any nights a week.
Okay.
Only U12, U14, and in the spring U18. So they get 1 night at Corpor, a half a field, and then on their second night, it's usually the track, which is divided, 1 field divided into 3.
Okay.
Or the Whitcomb Ave field that's got 5 of those same size fields that the track is.
Okay.
The outfield.
And St. Anne's too. There's 2 at St. Anne's.
When you're forming teams, you said sometimes it's mostly, and similar, I'm sure, in almost every sport, it's the number of coaches. If you had more coaches, you'd put more teams in. Is there a limit, though, where you say we just can't fit that many teams onto the fields for practices and games?
Well, we're getting there now.
Getting there.
We certainly are. We try never to turn anybody away.
Right.
The whole idea is to get, kids out of the house and doing a sport, and as Lava showed, we have a good group of athletes that participate in this town. We're lucky in that respect.
Do the 2 nights a week for the travel teams, are other towns also 2 nights a week, or do you feel, are they more like 3 or 4 nights a week?
I think on average they're 2.
So you're not behind the curve necessarily?
No.
Okay.
The only, at least for soccer, you can practice just about in any space,
Right.
We've had a couple coaches that insist they need the proper size field and the proper size nets, and we say, no, that's just not feasible.
Right.
But, right now, there's a big push on for, obviously, more fields, not just alumni being done, but, you know, the middle school field just got shut down, and where's lacrosse gonna go next spring?
Right.
And we're pretty much at capacity.
Right. Right.
Has youth soccer ever thought about just playing the non-travel games on Saturdays and no practice? Like what youth flag football does? They all do a practice and game same day?
No, we
Instead-
haven't.
It's similar to the Pee Wee model, where there's a half-hour practice.
Because
Correct.
Well, if you got 28 teams, and you divide that up over the week, and then they also get Saturdays, what if you just did Saturday games to eliminate the pressure on the fields on
Well, let's-
the spring?
Back up a little bit, because out of that 28 teams, 10 don't get a practice at all,
Right.
and 8 only practice on 2 days.
Right. So 18.
So it's only the older kids of our in-town program get 1 practice a week.
The Pee Wee teams don't practice at all.
Correct.
And the U6s really do more like a skills,
It's all a skills night,
yeah,
there's
type
no,
thing.
you know, it's all skills the whole night. They only go an hour.
Right, they're not practicing as a team, they're practicing as a
Nope, it's, you know,
program.
they actually try to divide the teams up.
Yeah.
You know, some show up on Tuesday, this team, some show up on Wednesday. They get to see different coaches, so they're not stuck with the same coach. So they get to, you know, hopefully they'll learn.
So, right now, it's workable, you're competing with other towns and programs in terms of the amount of practice they get and the amount of games they get. Like, for instance, in basketball, we're behind the curve. We get to practice 1 night a week for 75 minutes. Almost every other town that we compete with is practicing 2 nights
Yeah.
for an hour and a half. So they're getting, you know, 180 minutes of practice, and we're getting 75. So that kills us. But we just don't have the gym space, so we do the best we can. But if you had more field space, you would make it a little bit more ideal in terms of full field practices, which you don't always get to do now.
Nobody gets to do now.
Right, exactly.
Would we go to full field practices? Probably not.
You wouldn't?
Because now you're talking about rest in the field.
Yeah.
If you can
Okay.
rest the field, it maintains itself better.
Okay. All right. But you are at
Different
capacity.
areas.
If you added 10 more teams, you'd be stuck. You'd be struggling. It would be hard.
Oh,
to
it'd be
shoehorn
struggling.
in. Yeah.
And-
And even 5 more teams, you'd probably be really
Pushing them.
You might be able to get there, but somebody'd have to give something up.
The in-town teams, we can make do
Right.
somehow. Travel teams, yeah, we're pretty much, you know, like I said, we only have that one field corporate, which is used for travel games. So the maximum teams we can have there is 4 U10 girls teams. If we have an overflow, which we have in the past, and we will, this fall, we'll have 6 U10 boys. 4 will play at Corpor, and 2 will play at St. Anne's on Saturdays.
What about home versus road games? Is that?
4 and 4.
Okay, so.
Lines up some of the capacity. So is it, half the teams are away on any given week?
Correct, that's why we can get 4 in at Corpor, because like, if 2 are home, 2 are away. The schedule for our league sets that all up.
Yeah, good. It's coordinated.
What's the field quality from your perspective?
Corpor, luckily that there is a sprinkler system that, you know, soccer pays that water bill from May to November. Last year it was over $6,000. And, you know, you go by the field now and it's just like every other field, bone dry. And when it was put online years ago, it was plush grass. Now it's grass and weed mix. And we tried, luckily Corpor was built big enough that we could shift the field 5-10 yards every year. And that helps with not creating bare spots by goalies or the center dot.
So right now, you feel like that's full green coverage, whether it's grass or weed?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You've got no bare spots, so.
Nope.
And how about the other fields, the track and Russell Street, in terms of?
Russell Street, Whitcomb is great. The grass out there seems to be very well. The track is okay. You know, nothing was done with that when the track was built. They just threw in some loom around the edges to soften it up. St. Anne's, there's not a lot of grass. It's mostly weeds and pretty bare. That gets pretty dusty.
Is the town doing any support on that field because we use it, or because that's?
They do the same as all the other fields. They
Okay.
mow it, they lime it, they, slice seed it, and they aerate it.
Okay, so we are doing, the town is supporting the field because we use it, regardless of the fact that it's behind St. Anne's, okay?
Yep.
That's fine with me.
If we water
I'm
that-
not gonna argue
do we water
separation of
that
church
field
and
at all?
state, but.
St. Anne's?
Yeah.
No,
Just a waste of seed.
correct.
she's talking to the rain gods.
So really, that would be a benefit to getting new fields, which you could get out of that. That field is really not great, and it's not gonna be great, no matter how much we put into it. If you could get a better constructed field somewhere else, you could conceivably use St. Anne's to a lesser extent, and maybe not for the travel teams. You could move the younger kids down
True.
there.
And
create a
again, if
better
we had
experience for the
more
older
field
kids.
space, you could rest fields.
Okay. All right. All right. So you're in a good, nothing ideal because it's not plush grass like it used to be, but it's definitely serviceable. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are
Corporate field is, yes, definitely.
hanging in there. And the other fields are covered. They're not bare spots. They're safe.
Right, just saying there's some rough spots down there.
Yeah, right.
You know, it is what it is.
And the other fields they're supporting Pee Wee teams and U6 and U8 for the most part, so. younger
Correct, so they're
kids
not
are-
really doing any damage to the field
Right.
because they're too
Right.
young to
Right.
dig in like older kids do.
Unless they stand there and get bored.
Good question for you. Do you host
They
any
leave it on their own.
tournaments at Corporate?
We do occasionally, and it depends, we get to make that decision. It's only in the spring, it's one tournament called N Cup. If we have a team in it, we like to offer our field. Depending on what shape the field's in, we'll make the decision if it's been a rough spring where it's wet and getting torn up, we won't offer to do it because we want to protect the grass that's there. So we didn't host it this year, we did host it last year, and I think maybe the year before.
Quick, do we use Corporate for 2 outside teams to play on that? Like, I think I've
Clubs?
seen, like, Air and Lunenburg or Leominster playing each other on Corporate this spring. Is that possible?
It is, on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sunday, the league has, there's not as many U18 teams, there are U19 teams. So they do them, because there's not enough referees in the state to do these games, they do them in 3-game set. So like, one week there'll be, Littleton girls, Littleton boys, and, get whoever they're playing, and then another group to make the 3-game set. But that only happened 3 times this year.
Do we get reimbursement for that? I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah, the league will pay us, I think it's
rental?
$50 a game.
Usage.
Yeah, usage fee.
All right.
But there's times.
And they
where-
reimburse us, when we host tournaments, they reimburse us, it's $50 a game, and we run our concessions to make money to go into our boosters.
Are there summer leagues for soccer with tournaments like lacrosse? Lacrosse,
Yeah.
a lot of this is their big season for tournaments and things like that. Is soccer like that?
Not in the youth league, they stop cold, but clubs, that we don't have a club team here in town.
Right.
They still do some tournaments if you're part of that program. Nothing, we don't host anything here in
Yeah,
town.
no, it would be like out of town club, like, clubs where, kids from all different towns come to play, like, lacrosse, forget the team that plays in Acton now, but,
Yeah.
they're all different, kids from all different towns. They play and they go to tournaments here and there. Just wondering if soccer is structured like that or not.
The youth soccer, there is a tournament in Columbus Day weekend in Pepperell, hosts that every year for all the youth teams. And then in the spring, it's mostly club scene. We take Memorial Day weekend off from soccer, same with Columbus Day weekend, and teams it's starting to grow. More teams will go and play someplace in these tournaments, but once, for July 1st ends, all soccer is over and for youth soccer in our league.
How many kids in Littleton youth soccer players play club soccer?
Oh, that's growing. I couldn't tell you exactly. I want to say 3 to 4 kids per team now. And it's draining youth programs across the state.
Because they're only playing club.
Because they're only playing club. There's a league thing just come out from U.S. Soccer, that the youth leagues are struggling across this state. Mass Youth Soccer come out with, they're struggling because they're all playing club.
Hold on a second. So the club soccer teams
Yeah.
are playing in season with the youth soccer teams?
Yes. In the fall,
So is.
Except for high school.
So is hockey.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Gonna
So
say, it's
is
just like
lacrosse.
hockey.
That's why,
Do the club teams, lacrosse teams play in season?
Oh, yeah.
that's why a
You
lot
can
of
be
these
dual rostered and allowed to play, but, some of these club teams that you're paying $2,500 a year to play for, they're saying, we
The
want you here.
conflict.
Yeah, yeah.
How far does a Littleton kid have to go to find a decent club program?
Not far around here, there's lots of clubs.
Madison, right?
Acton, yeah, the big one, they just, Stars of Mass,
And where do those, and I'm leading towards where Mike was going, I think. Where do those club teams typically play their games?
At the Lancaster Mass Youth Soccer site,
Okay.
there's 13 fields out there.
Okay.
Stars of Mass just built their own turf field down the road from that. They want to have 2 when it's done, but right now they only have 1 because they want to do an indoor facility also down there.
Is club soccer tournament format, or is there a season?
There's a season.
There's a season,
Yeah,
okay.
there's a 9-week season in the fall and a 7-week season in the spring, and then they go to play for the state cup.
Okay. And in the summer, they're tournaments, or are they just?
Not, some of the elite club teams, they travel around the country
Right.
playing games.
Right.
Those are few and far, but like Stars of Mass has one, this other group, NEFC, they have these elite teams and they're the ones that want to start, at high school age, they want to start a fall league.
College scouting.
And, yeah, it's all about college scouting, and they want to prevent their kids from playing high school soccer, if they're on these academy teams. Like the, Diego, for the Revolution,
Yeah.
he was on the Revolution Academy. He didn't play high school soccer because he was on the academy program. They didn't allow it. They traveled all over the country during the fall.
So the club soccer format is a little bit different than lacrosse, which is tournament-based, where you're at a site for the weekend, and the site hosts, and then boom, you're gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a full season. And they train all winter long, too, indoors.
So it sounds like club soccer could be then a potential for alumni, potential usage, or we need more
If we
fields?
look at attendance,
Yeah.
for rentals, potential, yeah, if we had a synthetic surface.
But again, they play in the fall when we use it, and they play in the spring when we use it. You know, if you can find a group that does a summer league, there is a summer league put out by Mass Youth Soccer. It's called, I forget what it's called, but not Select, but it's like a Select, just a summer league. Kids can try out and play for that. They have, depending, 10 to 12 teams, and they play around the state. But very few, numbers-wise, compared to regular club play.
What time of day do the club teams practice? Do they practice in the evening? 'Cause they
Yeah.
gotta get, so it's later.
And their games are normally on Sunday. There's a new league, this NEP league just started a few years ago. Everything used to be Maple for club soccer. And that got too watered down, so a lot of the high clubs decided to form their own league, which was this NEP league. And now they're playing games on Saturday. We have a girl on the U14 team that missed half of her town games because she was playing for her club team.
That's allowed.
But you're still getting those registrations, because your registration numbers have ticked up
Correct.
a little bit here,
But we're worried that if the clubs really start pushing, how many
registration
kids
will
are we
start
gonna
ticking back down.
lose, yeah.
So the incentive for, just so I can understand club versus town, so the incentive for club then would be college scouting happens much more with the club versus going to see a varsity?
Correct.
There is no
Okay.
scouting by colleges at the high school level.
We had one this past year, a night game, UNH coach come down.
Okay.
He was, he already knew 2 girls he came to look at, and he was there for that. 'Cause I talked to him at the end, but, yeah, you don't do a lot of scouting.
Okay. That's really too bad.
It is.
Changed.
And that's why a lot of clubs will set up these tournaments
Huh.
around the country, just because that's where all the college coaches are going now. They can go to one place and see hundreds of kids.
Right.
They get a playbook of all the kid, where they're from, what club they're on.
They're getting
Video, hockey, they're all doing it.
Yeah,
They have access to video after the tournament's over.
Yeah.
yeah. It's big money.
That's
I feel like
exactly
that
what it
wasn't
is.
allowed a few years back. No?
Somebody got
It's
paid.
not, I mean, the MIA doesn't allow it,
Okay.
but
You can't play both.
you can't play both.
Well, you
Team member.
You can, you can't practice,
You can't go to your,
you can't skip a high school practice to
Right,
go
right.
to your
Or a game.
club, but you can still
do
play.
both.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can still do it. If you have an off night with your high school, you can go to your club.
And years ago, they didn't allow that, back in the old days when I played.
Yeah, I think that's what I think.
Yeah, yeah,
like the
you
90s.
couldn't do both. And there wasn't really
it
both
was
back
club
then.
back then?
Yeah, it was just, really.
Soccer was invented?
Yeah. I graduated in a long time ago, 1977. In my town, we just started making a youth league that year, and that was in 1977. Because I went around to all the elementary schools trying to drum up support for kids to do it.
I We've kind of had an open dialogue here, but does anybody have any specific questions?
I guess, I mean, big question, so what usage for alumni? Yeah, like what do you see, what would your desires be?
Well, we're in favor of Alumni Field being redesigned, for the high school, but not for us. We really don't need it. It would be great for lacrosse, it would be great for field hockey, it would be great for youth football. We're fine with the space we have. But if other groups are growing and taking our space, then yeah, we're gonna want alumni too.
Yeah.
Or I think, circle the argument back around, you really support alumni because it'll make it much less likely that other programs are going to be requiring your space.
For soccer is a different game on artificial versus natural grass. And we just, if we're not practicing on it daily and then we only having games, it's too fast of a game.
How many games does the high school girls play on turf? Ballpark.
4 to 5, Tingsboro, Oakmont, Lunenburg. There's 3. Anybody else?
Do you get 2 home games? Do you get 2 home games?
At alumni.
At alumni?
We get 2 home games, right? Right now, and if it was artificial turf, we'd probably get, like Mike said, 4 to 6 games.
Which I think parents would like.
Correct. We'd get used to playing on it. I'm just saying it's not ideal.
Yeah.
It is certainly better for the parents, because, like everybody said, afternoon games, parents are working.
Let me ask you this. If alumni went turf and Saturday games at Corpora were rained out, but you had the ability to just move them to alumni, would that work for soccer?
It would work, but it would be a nightmare for, unless it was a full-size field game like U14s or
Right,
above.
that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so,
So you wouldn't have to cancel, well, I hardly ever see you guys cancel down there, but.
Oh, we cancel a lot.
And
We
the
canceled the games this season, and all of a sudden it didn't even rain. But, we'll cancel even if Park and Rec doesn't cancel the field occasionally. But, we could switch, the older kids could play on alumni if it was artificial for those games. It doesn't make sense for the U10 and U12, because there's no lines and have to cone everything off.
Oh, modified field.
Yeah. And then you'd have all those nets being drug around. Right now, there's 2 sets of nets going to be down there for the high school.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If you needed a full field event, and
Full size,
your
yep.
field got rained out, you could potentially use.
Correct,
alumni.
absolutely.
That's a good question. All right, Julie, you asked the question. I was the big one that was out there, but I appreciate that. Anybody from the audience have any questions? Mr. Austin? Yeah, I think the big question is relative to youth soccer being a stakeholder. How would youth soccer benefit from alumni being renovated, essentially?
They would benefit because our fields wouldn't be needed as much. There's still going to be a need for fields.
Yeah.
Even if alumni's done, there's still a need for more fields in town.
Correct. I couldn't
But this
agree
would
more.
help quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that I think everybody's in tune with that, and I think that's.
Yeah, I think
I
that
know it's
what it
on the-
would allow the community to do is to
Reassess.
take the time to make good decisions and execute well, instead of us all being in a hurry because we're all feeling stress. I think that's one thing to think about. We solve some immediate problems for some of the other sports, but it gives us the opportunity for soccer we can breathe now. We're okay where we are for the next 2 years. Let's figure this out as a town and make good decisions instead of making a rash decision to ram something in that gives us temporary relief, but 5 or 6 years down the road, we're going, well, this isn't working out as well as I would have liked.
Right.
So, we didn't do it right because we didn't have the luxury of time. So.
The only last question I'll ask is there anything, in a renovation, is there anything that would, you mentioned storage of nets, is there anything that would benefit youth soccer? In our planning and design?
Yeah,
We're going to be sitting down with designers here in a couple
yeah.
of weeks.
Not really for youth soccer, going back to LABA, it would be nice to have a nice concession stand with the clothing building attached to it and
Yeah.
shelves to put clothes out on.
Yeah.
from the.
No
Kiosk.
buzz.
Instead of leaving
Yeah.
out there, your own little shack.
Yeah,
His own little space.
right. And youth football uses that snack shack also, so.
Correct.
for their
Yeah,
games.
we didn't talk about that.
Right,
We share the space.
that's right. All right. You guys good?
Thanks, Gary.
All right, thank
Thank you
you.
very much, appreciate it. And keep, I mean, if any of the members,
Maggie notes?
if anybody from youth soccer comes to you and says, oh, I wish you had said this, reach out to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to them and let them know I was coming, so
Yep.
they had their chance, I think.
Yeah. All right, then don't let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Gary. All right, moving right along. This is, look at us. Don't anybody tell Maureen that the meeting.
Yeah, exactly. On TV, she's watching.
Get it till 8:30.
I'm sure Maureen
Kids
said
can
they
be in
don't watch
bed by the
the
time I get
meeting.
home.
We can drag this out to 8:30, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, approval of minutes. So we did not approve the minutes from 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and I don't have the minutes this week.
So,
Those 2 weeks ago, 6th?
yeah, July 6th minutes. Actually, no, we approved the 6th last week, and we didn't approve the 15th.
No,
No?
yes,
Yes.
that's right.
June 15th.
Yeah. Yeah, so the meeting on June 15th was Jim Clyde,
That was field turf, wasn't it?
Andrew Dijak from Field Turf.
Yep.
Oh, right.
I just had to add in your talking
Julie's
point,
notes, yeah.
Julie.
Anybody see anything else? Had them for a couple weeks now. Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from June 15th, 2016.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, so we're going back. We did approve the 6:15 minutes, so it must have been
We did
July. we
the
did.
June 6th. we did.
June, it says in my notes from last week, Mike Fontanella approved the minutes for 6:15.
Oh, so?
Yeah,
All in
I thought we
favor,
had
so
done
So it must
it's
be
the other
Ju-
set,
July
it's July
6th.
6th
Yeah.
that we need to approve.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that Dijak guy was here a long time.
Yeah.
It was. I thought that, because Julie's notes were with it. All right, so the July 6th, I apologize. July 6th, we had stakeholder presentation was Alicia Day, and who else?
Really,
Alicia,
we talked about we had the site visit prior to that. We talked about that a little bit.
right. My apologies.
It's okay.
So the June 15th minutes are really approved.
They've been approved. They're in my
Very
notes
approved.
that they've been approved.
Motion to approve the minutes from July 6th, 2016.
Do we, I have one question about that. So it says 8 reps from 8 different companies came for a site visit, and so we talked before about, do we need to name who responded? So does that belong in the minutes, or how is that handled?
The site visit was coordinated by the PNBC, so I feel like they own that.
Oh, right, these aren't the,
Yeah, they weren't the ones that
never mind,
responded.
these aren't the
Right.
respondents.
Right,
Okay.
some of them didn't
And-
respond.
Never mind.
Yeah.
My opinion relative to that, they all know, they all know each other, so if they're at a site visit, they probably know who's who.
I gave you
But
that.
as far as us announcing
This one.
that
You should-
we're interviewing these 3 OPMs or these 3, I'm kind of the opinion, I'd rather them come with their best foot forward. If, just pick up
So
top
that
2.
in the
If
minutes.
Warner Larson,
Well, the minutes, that would be fine, when they actually
Yeah,
show
that's
up.
what I mean.
Yeah, when they show up.
Yeah,
with the
no,
minutes.
I
Yeah.
didn't mean sharing, I'm sorry, no,
Yeah.
I didn't mean sharing with the other contractors, I just meant, does it belong in our minutes, the responses we received and who we received them from? That's what I meant. Or does that belong in the other
We
committee?
didn't talk about
And
them.
we didn't,
We
I-
didn't
Yeah.
name them,
Yeah.
so it
Right.
was just that 8, with the
Right.
site visits, 8 came out, and then whether
Yep.
we end up with 5 anyway.
No, I agree, I see that now on the 6th, and,
but if you guys feel as though it's necessary to include who the 5 and the 3 were,
Well,
I just-
not for the
from a-
6th.
Yeah.
No, not for this set of minutes, correct. All right, so there is a motion on the table. Do you want to amend it?
Second, oh, no.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded.
Good.
All- Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, so another opportunity for public input. Got nothing? Come on up, empty. Herman Island. It's already there. All right, so scheduling next meetings is up right now. So next week, we've got football and cheer, if I'm correct?
That's what we have, in youth lab, oh, we already did youth lab.
Youth Lax already went.
Football and cheer, that's all I have.
Right,
now.
so.
Are they confirmed?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
then we can do it.
Jackie was away this week, so they
Okay.
couldn't do it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do that.
And when Tom called me to say that he couldn't make it tonight, he said that he was on for next
Okay.
next Wednesday. It is Wednesday next week. If you guys do a special meeting,
We are.
you'll probably be able to get here. We can start at 7:15 maybe to kind of accommodate. It hasn't been posted yet. What do you think about that?
Well, our special meeting is at 7.
Okay. We do this at 7:30? You guys are just basically taking whatever recommendation the selection committee has.
Yeah, but we also have another.
Oh, there's something else on the special meeting?
Bid opening that day.
It's not all about us?
Not totally.
Okay. All right. So we've got this room booked for next Wednesday. We can certainly see what else is available. We're getting to the point now where I kind of need you here.
Yeah, although, if all we're going to do is football and cheer, we're not going to talk about the RFQs, we're not going to talk about design and everything, that might be one more that we can live without Carl, or Carl can come late from his other meeting.
Yeah.
And then, after that, when we have the OPM at the table, they're in the room, and then they subsequently have the designer in the room, that's where it's going to change. We're not going to have that luxury any longer. But it's the middle of summer, I would say let's take advantage and get this one done.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that works.
You sure? Okay.
And just so you know, I'm good for next week, but I'll be away the week after. I'm not saying don't meet, I'm just letting you know.
I'm away the week after that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm iffy the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
due to vacation.
Sheila, you go with running meetings?
At least on Wednesdays.
I mean, frankly, my attitude is that we've gotten, I think after football and cheer, there's really not any other stakeholders we're looking to get immediate input from that's been, we've cleared our list. I wouldn't mind doing more, and there'll be more opportunity for community input, and I think there's going to be more desire for community input once we get into the actual nitty-gritty of the design.
The only other stakeholder that I considered, and obviously you represent the school committee, Mike Lynn represented the athletic department.
Yeah.
I didn't know if maybe Steve Mark or Kelly Clenchey would have an interest in being heard.
Yeah, I would,
As a
that
stakeholder.
may be, but I would say I would rather do that in the fall.
Okay.
Because they're kind of like on,
It's their off-season.
yeah, exactly, it's their off-season, you know, so I would rather, it's my off-season as a school committee member, and I don't really want to put that on my plate, so I'll deal with that.
Okay.
I appreciate that, and I think it is a good idea, but we can push that down the line.
Okay.
So, kind of what I'm thinking about is that what we might want to do is just consider letting the screening subcommittee do their work
Okay.
and get across that finish line after next week. We'll meet with football next week. But once we get the OPM on and we get the designer selected, that will naturally get us to the end of August
Right.
when all this vacation stuff kind of comes to an end.
Yep.
And then we can pick up our momentum again.
That's a good point. All right, so as of right now, we're scheduled for 7:27, Wednesday, football and cheer.
Yeah.
Behind that, we've got August. So you think maybe we don't need that next meeting?
You know, I don't know what we would put on it, you know?
August
And-
3rd,
And
yeah.
people are going to be, starting to be
Other
gone.
than, well, so we're, as the selection committee, we're probably going to be doing some level of interviews.
Yeah. So,
Either, most likely you think the week of the 7th, right? I would imagine. Carl, you agree?
Yeah.
yeah. So I would say, let's plan on sure, definitely meeting on the 17th. What's PNBC? Is that your meeting? Is that a week you meet, or?
It is, we meet first and third.
Okay. So we can either do, Thursday, Tuesday or Thursday, we can figure it out, but let's meet that week. And let's tentatively plan to not meet, kind of a double negative, the next 2 weeks, as this committee.
August, so the first week in August and the second week in August.
Yeah. And we will let the selection subcommittee, of which 4 of us are members anyway, we'll hack it out and figure out how we're gonna meet. It's gonna be tough though. You guys, Julie, you and Chuck are both gone the week of the 8th?
I'm gone basically the 27th to 3rd.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm around the week of the 8th.
Okay.
It just spans
She
two,
overlaps you.
it spans 2
Yeah,
Wednesdays,
that's fine.
that's my problem.
Yeah, that's fine. What about the week of the 8th for you?
The week of the 8th, I will likely, there's the potential that I could be available Thursday night.
Okay.
Because we have to deliver Joey on the 12th.
College road trips.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll work towards that. Sheila, you got any vacation? I'm thinking about from a selection subcommittee point of view.
The week of I will not be available August 9th.
That's fine. But the rest of that week, you're okay? Okay. Okay. So this committee will planning on taking a little bit of a 2-week hiatus.
Okay.
We will work towards getting the OPM and designer stuff
Interviewed.
done. And then we'll go hard forward from the week of the 15th, and we'll figure out dates around PNBC.
So the week of August 15th, the 16th is the Tuesday, the 18th is the Thursday.
Yeah.
Is either of those better for anybody? A Tuesday or a Thursday? Or doesn't it matter?
Tuesday is better for me.
Tuesday's better for you? All right, so let's shoot for that 8/16, because it's good to Mike.
Almost couldn't come tonight.
This week.
Trying to deal with summer hockey.
All right, so I think we're good. On the agenda next week is football and cheer. We'll give an update with the OPM/designers.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Carl will show up and tell us who they picked.
Yeah.
That's the plan, right?
Put that down towards the bottom of the agenda, give you time to get here. You like running between the 2 buildings, right?
Or Judy's bike.
All right.
The building's unlocked.
I'll get a hold of LCTV and let them know as far as if we're shifting our schedule,
Okay.
because they've got contractors lined up and that kind of thing, so I want to make sure that they're included in that. We're all set for the room. I think that's it. Is there any other business that anybody feels as though we need to cover?
No.
All right, let me know if anything comes up. Try to get that agenda into Diane. I entertain a motion to adjourn. We can have some, I'm trying, man.
Gotta rearrange the room.
Yeah, that'll take at least 10 minutes, yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Moving second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you all.